Welcome everyone to episode number 3 of All About Phage Therapy. My name is Pranav. I'm the founder of Vitalis Phage Therapy, and today I will be in discussion with Dr. Gopal Nath, who's joining us from the Indian city of Varanasi. Dr. Gopal Nath is a professor and former head of department of microbiology at the Banaras Hindu University, which is one of the oldest and largest universities of India. He is a doctor at the Institute of Medical Sciences at the university and is one of the most experienced and awarded phage scientists in the country. He is the secretary of the Society for Bacteriophage Research and Therapy India, and he had organized the first major national phage therapy conference in India in 2017 in his university. Currently, he's been very busy for the last 2 months as the chief investigating officer for COVID-19 testing in his city and in his lab in the university. And he is in charge for setting up the lab and overseeing the testing for COVID-19 for the entire eastern part of Uttar Pradesh, which is a state of 200 million people. Welcome to this discussion, sir.
Thank you very much. Very good morning to all of you. And it's my pleasure to be here. So it's really nice to talk to you all.
Thank you, sir. It's a pleasure to have you here. Sir, because you are overseeing the testing for COVID-19, I'd like to first ask you about that because it's such a relevant topic for today's times. What are the trends that you have seen? What are the challenges that you went through in setting up the lab? And what are the kind of numbers that you are seeing? And are there any chances that we are going to see a flattening of the curve at any time soon?
So we started at the end of the February, and you can say in the beginning of the March, and it was really very difficult task to do all these things. Gradually, we made up from 10 samples, 20. We reached to say now 600, 700 per day, and gradually it is on increase. Basically, the Varanasi city is a big city, and the surrounding area is having a lot of migrant laborers to the other major cities of the India. Now they are coming back, and there is a peak in the incidence of the corona here. And now Varanasi itself has got 130 positivity. Total reporting from our lab has crossed about 250. And we feel that this will be on hike in coming, say, 1 month at least. And maybe flattening will maybe there after the end of July or maybe in September, something may happen. So, and this corona task is very problematic in the sense that the common people are so much afraid of this disease that they even hesitate to talk to us. So this type of confusion is there. If you are having snake with all the preparations to catch it or kill it, so one should not be afraid of. So you have to be very careful for this while handling the live viruses closed in a bottle. So it's not very difficult thing. It's not very dangerous too. So I think the people must understand that it is your personal care, your universal safety precautions which are going to protect you rather than being afraid of those things. So this is there about the corona.
So we are still about 3 months away before you said that flattening of the curve might happen. So till that time, we will still see an increasing number.
Yes.
And there are no immediate likelihood of there being a vaccine for it?
No, I don't see, because the vaccine, it takes the stage 1 trial, 2 and 3, then it comes to further this one. So it may be there, but the trials are necessary before being put to the masses. So that problem is there. So I don't think in the coming 1 or 2 months we are going to have the vaccine.
So we'll all have to adopt safety precautions for the foreseeable couple of years before it becomes the vaccine is available and everyone is being inoculated with it.
Yes.
So sir, jumping from a dangerous kind of virus, which is COVID-19, to a virus which is beneficial to us, which can be used therapeutically, which are bacteriophages. You are located in the city of Varanasi, and the river Ganga flows through that city. And there is a very interesting historical connection of bacteriophages to the river Ganga.
Yeah.
Could you elaborate on that and talk us through that history and that connection which is there?
Actually, in the beginning, somebody told that something is there in bacteriophages. So we used to teach the undergraduates and postgraduates simply that what bacteriophages do, what is the main meaning of the bacteriophages. At that time, we read something about the river Ganges and connection of the bacteriophages with the river Ganga. Then we came to know about the Ernest Henkin, the British doctor, that he did something in 1896 or 98, that the Ganges water has got the some bibliostatic or vibrio bacteria can be killed by this one. So that was the later he concluded that something is there in the water, and it is live and it kills the bacteria, because the people who are staying near the banks of the river, and the people who are consuming the river water, they were having the less severity of the disease and less mortality too than the people who are staying far away from the river bank and consuming the well water. So that was the story there, and then it peaked up to 1940. You know, the before the invention of the antibiotics. So later on, with the introduction of the antibiotics, it again went down, because at that time microbiology was not that much advanced, and the people are not knowing that the bacteriophages are so specific, host specific, that even the variants of the bacteria may be sensitive and other may not be sensitive of the same species. So that was the story at that time.
And is that something which is now more well accepted and acknowledged? And has there been a study of the kind of bacteriophage load in the river, and is that been found to be higher than other rivers maybe?
In the scientific world as well as the common man, people think that but as a microbiologist, that too a medical microbiologist, I would like to state that wherever is the number of host is more, you are going to have the more viruses. So it's any river which is contaminated with the human activities and the human pathogens, they must be having higher number of the bacteriophages. So we must accept it. And then for your information, I would like to inform the audience that the sewer water of any hospital is the richest source of the bacteriophages against the pathogenic bacteria than any other river. So maybe somebody is having a lot of faith in the river Ganges, so their sentiment might be hurt, but this is the truth.
No, it's actually, sir, I mean, it's a good thing that people know why a particular, whether we want to call it, a belief or something is there. It's good to have that backed with scientific logic and scientific knowledge. And are there currently a lot of bacteriophages which are being isolated from the river for the research work at your university?
Yes, we have isolated almost all the bacteriophages against the pathogens from the river as well, but also from the sewer water. So we are taking both sources for collection of this one, and basically we are collecting the water for the bacteriophage isolation wherever their sewers are falling into like that. There is Assi Nala near the Assi Ghat, and we are collecting from there. So we are just taking each and every span, about 10-kilometer span of the bank of the river, and we are collecting from everywhere. But we have found that wherever there is more human activity or there is more contamination of the bacteria, the viruses are easily being isolated from there.
That's really interesting, sir. How did you get interested in the world of bacteriophages? How did you start your research and your study?
This is really very interesting question, actually. If I look back, and one of my junior, I think 4 years junior to me, he's a plastic surgeon. I may name him also. He's very good at the cleft lip and cleft palate surgeries. He looks after the burn cases also, Dr. Subodh Singh. And he got the Oscar film from the small film, this one. And then one day in, I think 2005, he called me that one of my patient is having burn and have got the infection with Pseudomonas aeruginosa, and the different laboratories in the city and including my lab has reported that none of the drugs or none of the antibiotics are effective against them. Then what should I do? So in textbook, I had read that if you are giving the third generation penicillins in combination with the aminoglycosides, so there is synergistic effect that may affect. So I just informed him. He told that I have tried already, but failed. Then he requested me, sir, do something for us. So I thought that what is something which can work in these cases. From there, I started working on the bacteriophages against the Pseudomonas aeruginosa. And luckily, I applied for the DBT project in 2005 itself. And I was awarded from there in 2007. And I took PhD student in that one. I completed this by, I think, 2010 or 11. And I submitted one patent also. So we found that if there is bacteremia because of Pseudomonas aeruginosa, especially in mice model, we did it. And the phages, if you are using the cocktail, they are really very effective. They are life-saving also as well. And they are very effective at the local application of the phages also. So now we can say that the cases which are resistant to the bacteria which are multi-drug resistance or XDR, they can be treated with the bacteriophages. Later on, I took another project that was on the Acinetobacter baumannii. They are the members of the SCAPE organism, you know. So Staph aureus, Acinetobacter, Klebsiella, and the Enterococcus faecium, and then Pseudomonas aeruginosa. So one by one, I have done against those, and then my target is to work on the Enterococcus faecium now because I have covered 4 of them. So I found that you can treat even the patients who are admitted to the ICUs, and we have standardized doses as well. If the infection is of the early stage, you have to give the smaller doses. If the infection is of the later stage, maybe more than 24 hours, then you have to give the largest doses. However, you have to monitor the vitals of the patient, like blood pressure, respiratory system, and other things, so that there is no excessive endotoxemia that you have to manage, because patient dies because of the endotoxic shock if the sudden release of the endotoxins are there, because the bacteriophages are acting on the cell wall and releasing more and more of the endotoxin. So that is one part. Then later on, I saw one of the library attendant was having the osteomyelitis. So in my institute, already Professor SM Tuli is there working in Delhi itself. He's a known orthopedic surgeon. He established osteomyelitis model in rabbit in Institute of Medical Sciences. I am talking way back in 1980-85. So somehow I was knowing that is there. So I thought that why not to try to treat these chronic infections, which are non-curable as such. Osteomyelitis is really, people are going for the amputation, unable to cure it. So then I contacted Dr. Saraf, SK Saraf of the orthopedics, and we had that study later on that was published in Indian Journal of Medical Research. And then we found that this bacteriophage cocktail against Staph aureus bacteriophages that does really work, and there was complete healing. Even when we started the therapy 4 and 6 weeks later, means 1.5 months later of the infection. So the Western journals, they rejected my paper because they were telling that you cannot keep the animals in such a pain for 6 weeks. So their ethical committee is not permitting. But somehow, luckily, I talked to the then Dr. Soumya Swaminathan that I have got such type of paper. So if you permit that may be published in the IGMR, they accepted and that was published. Then recently, I have worked on the healing of the chronic ulcers, where the biofilms are formed in the patients itself. The part means directly the clinical studies, and we have completed 2 studies. Now I'm working on the acute infection as well as already we have done on the chronic infection. And this is you can say that the customized phages we are using. We are isolating the bacteria from the patients, then developing the bacteriophages is usually cocktail, and then applying locally, and it is really curing the infections which are as old as 6 to 10 years. Along with the diabetes, they are getting cured. And right now I'm working in another interesting aspect, that is the obesity and the association with some of the bacteria like Klebsiella pneumoniae, because you know Klebsiella pneumoniae causes the Otto brewery syndrome. They are they are using more and more substrate, and assimilation is higher than the other one. That's why patient becomes obese. So you can specifically eradicate the Klebsiella pneumoniae like bacteria from the intestine, and you can see the effect. We have seen in the rat model, and we have got the fantastic result. That paper is under preparation. So basically, I'm focusing to the gut microbiota and bacteriophage therapy right now.
The diabetic foot ulcers that you mentioned, sir, that would have a big application in India because we are the diabetes capital of the world. I think on a per capita basis, we have the highest
Yes.
incidence of diabetes.
Yes, sure, sure. So, you see, in case of diabetes, the healing time is a bit more, and in non-diabetics, it is faster, but the healing rate is almost same if you compare statistics.
Is
So
that
there is no need. There is no need of the amputation even in diabetics if the things are under control.
Is the healing rate you mentioned? Healing rate is the same. Is that because of the fact that phages multiplication of phages is not dependent on the vascularity because they tend to
Yes.
start multiplying on
Definitely.
their own once they reach the host?
Yes, yes. Basically, bacteria is there and the phages will be multiplying, replicating there. And the healing process is slow in the diabetics because their vascular system is deranged because of the diabetes. So that takes time. You are able to eradicate the bacteria, but healing will be a slow process in the diabetes.
And you mentioned Enterococcus faecium.
Yeah.
That is a bacteria which is very commonly associated with urinary tract infections.
Yeah.
And again, that's something where the incidence of resistance is also proving to be quite
Very high. That's why it is included in escape organism. And we have planned that we are going to take the next project on the Enterococcus faecium.
So that's really interesting, and it's such a vast study of both phage research and application that you have done. What are the things that you see which you're working on right now, which you see as the most promising in the next 1 or 2 years in terms of the projects?
The gut microbiota and the obesity and the control of diabetes, because diabetics, if you just simply reducing the assimilation rate in the intestine, because gut microbiota is almost controlling the whole system, and if the responsible bacteria can be specifically eradicated from the gut and they are continuously persistently they are not there, they are not recolonizing, I feel that will change the whole story, apart from the antibiotic resistance development which we are going to deal with as an alternative therapy.
Is that something that you are seeing increasingly, the antibiotic resistance cases in the hospital at BHU, which is the Institute of
Sure.
Medical Sciences?
I joined MD in 1985 and now it is 2020, and I can tell you that there is this sea change in the antibiotic resistance pattern, and we are facing really huge problems. Many of the patients walking admitted to ICU, and then we are testing, we are getting that all the drugs are resistant, and we are having no answer. And because ethical issues, we cannot give the bacteriophages which are ready with us. So that is the another problem with us.
So is that something that at the university level you are working with the regulators or working with the administration to make them understand the potential of bacteriophages in cases like these?
Yeah. I presented my case to the ethics committee of my institute. So fortunately, they permitted for the use in the case of this local chronic infections, chronic ulcers. So that's why I could do it. And then I am going further for the RCT, randomized control trial for the chronic non-healing ulcers, application of bacteriophages. I have applied in our institute. University has got is the institution of eminence. So there is the funds I have applied for there, and I think I will get it, and I shall be completing the ICT, the RCT for this bacteriophage use in the treatment of chronic ulcers. So maybe that will be a good proof by which we can convince the regulators at the national level also for the bacteriophage. That's why I'm doing this.
And at the university level, is there more work beginning to happen in the area of bacteriophage research?
Yes, so many people are interested, and so many other department people like Institute of Science is there, agriculture is there, veterinary science is there. So veterinary science people are very much interested. They came to me. I'm willing to establish all these technology to the veterinary science people, so that at least there is no regulatory control like that in the human cases. So they can save a lot of animal life, poultry, and other things they can be doing. So this is why I'm really eager to transfer all the technology to those people.
And do you see this increasing interest among students as well? You are a professor at the Department of Microbiology.
Yeah.
Are there more people?
Actually, yes, I can tell you. And one story, I was taking a lecture class in the UG one of the students' father, he was orthopedician from Lalitpur, Uttar Pradesh. So he got the injury in the scaphoid bone, and then later, because of the repeated surgery, he got infected with Staph aureus, developed the osteomyelitis. Ultimately, after traveling whole country, he came to BHU and told me that you are the person who can treat it, because my son is telling that you are doing something. Then I started the therapy. I think it was 2011 or 12, and he got cured. But I did not give the injection because of ethical issues. I told that you do whatever you like. I can provide you the composition only, and he did. So students are coming, and they are coming for their personal problems. They are joining my lab to work on the bacteriophages. A lot of PDFs are also joining, coming from the other countries who are Indian, because they are getting some funds under IOE. So they have applied for the grants to work with me.
That's really heartening to know that more and more students are getting interested in the study of bacteriophages, and there is a greater interest amongst microbiology students to study that. Do you see that at a national level as well? Because you get invited to many, many universities to present lectures and to make presentations. Do you see that over the years, the interest in bacteriophages to study them and to study their application is increasing?
Yes. So I travel almost all across the country and delivered the lecture on the bacteriophages. And I found that the people are getting aware, they are more aware about the bacteriophages. And they think that if the regulatory body permits us, then we can go ahead along with almost this purification. And even then, the Holins license and the polymerase and depolymerases produced by the bacteriophages to deal with the bacterial infection. These molecules can be worked on, or rather we can have the engineered molecule also to use derived from the bacteriophages to deal with the bacterial infection. So this is going on.
And it's good. I mean, it's good to see that from the research perspective, there's an increasing awareness and interest in phages and bacteriophages across the country. Do you see that as well in your interactions with medical regulators? Because you are probably the person in India who has interacted the most with medical regulators, with ICMR, in the context of bacteriophages. So do you see that they are more positively receptive to the idea of bacteriophages? Do you see an increasing interest amongst them?
Yeah. I visited the ICMR headquarters for this region, so that they are permitting to at least allow me to establish or fund for the National Bacteriophage Therapy Center at Banaras University, because this city is at the bank of River Ganges, so our claim is highest. So I showed my all these findings to him on the presentations, and he told that there is the things you can get this one. He was quite positive, but the thing is that you need to show more proofs. So that's why I'm going for the RCT like things. We'll be doing more control trials, and then we'll be able to convince. The other thing is that the regulator must be convinced when the conventional therapy is failing, there is no answer to save the life of the patient. In those cases, they should permit us. And there is provision, I think. And you have to talk to your local ethical committee. If they approve, then you can even use in the cases of the systemic infection. So I think that in those cases, I will try to my local ethics committee, and at national level, I'm trying to convince the health ministry. If they are permitting, we can go ahead, because one day they have to permit. I'm sure, I'm confident that they have to permit.
Actually, as you say, the problem of antibiotic resistance is increasing so exponentially, and that is the conventional or the accepted method of treatment, and that is beginning to show a higher and higher failure rate. So they have to accept the problem and look at providing alternate solutions and giving them approval.
Yes.
So you are the Chief Secretary of the Society for Bacteriophage Research and Therapy in India, the SBRT. You organized the first ever National Phage Therapy Conference in your university. Can you tell us about the aims or the goals of this society and some of the work that you are doing as part of that society?
Yeah, actually, I'm really very thankful to the Health Ministry, especially Department of Health Research, ICMR. I got a call from the Health Ministry that there is a discussion on the bacteriophages or healing power of the River Ganges. So at AIMS, there was a meeting, and then I think it was December 2016. And then I was given an opportunity that there will be funding and you have to hold an international conference on the bacteriophages in river Ganges, which I could organize. I think it was 22nd, 23rd August. And then at Varanasi. And at that time, the participants from all across the country and the many countries from the abroad also, they participated. And on the last day, we concluded that there must be a association or body, because bacteriophages are the application of bacteriophages is not limited to the human health only. They can go to the animal health, poultry, the plants and fishery. So there are and then you can, if you're able to reduce the antibiotic uses, those antibiotics against become the relevant. So that's why we try to make association from where everybody from different walk of the bacteriophage therapy research are coming on the one stage, and then we are formulating the things for the betterment of the bacteriophage research. And then that's why we picked up the basic scientists which are working on the bacteriophages, the clinicians, the veterinarians, the persons who are working on the aquatic life system and the agricultural one. They are all in the, you are the life member also. So all those people are there, and we are trying to increase. Basic objective is that we have to share our knowledge. We have to increase the relevance of the bacteriophages in the health, means that is called as the One Health like system. And now there is a concept of One Health. So that is the great thing which we can add from our side. This is the basic objective of the society.
And what about some of the activities that are being taken up at this moment, and some of the major steps that would be taken up in the future? Could you elaborate?
There was a first conference after the association was formed at the Vellore, and that was very successful also. So we are trying to have another one in North India somewhere, maybe in Hisar or maybe in Delhi. So we have to find out, but this corona epidemic has halted somehow. But even then we are going this one, and we are also encouraging to have the local workshops like Hisar people. They did a very good workshop there. Then at this Delhi, I also attended later on. They conducted a workshop at the this National Academy. They did that one. So
really,
that we are trying, and I also am trying to hold a workshop here for the training, and my lab is all the time open to all whosoever comes, wants to learn the technology and can transfer to them. So there are many people from Jaipur, from say Jhansi, and from other institutions, from Lucknow, from Delhi. They are where I am like say co-PI or the co-guide to them in their PhD work, including Nepal.
Actually, that's a really good message to go out to the audience, because I know many students are watching this, and for all of our episodes of All About Phage Therapy till now, we've got questions about possibilities of internships or training programs. So Dr. Gopalnath is mentioning that his lab has programs and has possibilities, so students can always apply there and to learn more about bacteriophage research as well as the application of it, because Dr. Gopalnath's lab is, as he said, doing RCTs, doing trials. So you will be able to learn about the application as well.
Yeah, sure.
So you are in a very unique position, because you're a doctor. So you have the clinical experience. You have 15 years of phage, more than 15 years of phage research experience. You interact a lot with medical regulators. You interact with your university administrators. So you are able to you're in a position where you see a holistic picture around the world of phages. What do you see as the future for phage therapy and phage research in India over, say, the next 5 years, both India and the world, because you also interact a lot with people outside the country?
I think the phage therapy research will boom. Like you might have seen that in last 4 or 5 years, there are a huge number of the research papers coming in the bacteriophage therapy. And I feel that we don't have the alternative. This is the natural system to deal with the pathogenic bacteria. And I think it is better to use the system against something which is harming us rather than going to a single molecule. And bacteriophages are the system evolved by the nature, and we have to maximally use them without harming ourselves. So I look the very bright future of the bacteriophage therapy research in India as well as in the whole world.
And nature continues to make this weapon more and more effective because as the
Yeah.
bacteria is
Yes,
evolving,
this is the beauty of the bacteriophages, because antibiotics today you have evolved after testing for 20 years. The research has gone for 20 years for one molecule which is effective against the bacteriophages. Next day you are getting a resistance report. The same may happen with the bacteriophages, but on the very next day you are having another virus which is killing the same bacteria. So we have got the options every day. The nature has given the option. That's why bacteriophages are going to do really in a fantastic manner.
that's really heartening to hear that perspective, sir.
Yeah.
We have a lot of audience questions which are coming in, so I'm going to put some of those questions to you.
Sure.
So the first question, sir, is from Atif Khan. He's asking that since seawater is also known to contain a huge number of bacteriophages, what could be the extent of similarity between marine phages and Ganges water phages with respect to combating bacterial resistance?
You see, we are basically concerned with the bacteria which are harming us, and the sea phages will be there against the bacteria which are present in the seawater. Okay, if Staph aureus is not there, the phages against the Staph aureus will not be there. In the beginning also I told you that we got the maximum yield of the bacteriophages against the Staph aureus from our hospital sewer water rather than the river Ganges. So basically the water difference is that the availability of the host are present of the host. So they are specific the host. If the host is there, according the bacteria will be there. So there is no comparison with the river, because river Ganges has got the human activity. That is in our vicinity. That is the lifeline of the India, and all the human pathogens are going there, flowing through the river Ganges. So all the bacteriophages pathogenic to the human being will be there. Majority means almost all of them will be there. But that the same may not be true in the sea water, because we are not going to survive, or we are not contaminating the sewer water as such as we are doing with the river Ganges.
So we may not be able to find the sensitivities as much as in marine bacteriophages as there are in the river bacteriophages.
Sure, definitely.
Sudarshan Govindrajan is asking that in India, are we doing phage research for Mycobacterium tuberculosis infections?
Yes, very good question. I also tried for this. I can give you the clue also. If somebody is interested, they can go ahead with this one. The problem with the Mycobacterium tuberculosis is that this is very slow growing bacteria, and you need at least level 3 biosafety facility where negative pressure is there, because the worker has to be not at risk. So everywhere you cannot work. The other thing is that the phases will be taking a lot of time before you can get the plaques. So I started personally to work with the rapid growers like Mycobacterium sphygmatis and the Fortuitum, and we isolated the bacteriophages. But you know, the animal models are not as such good animal models for these two bacteria, Mycobacterium Fortuitum and this Sphygmatis. So literature says that the Mycobacterium marinum causes like the pulmonary tuberculosis in the rodent model. So we are presently trying to have the bacteriophages against the marinum, and if you are having, that is also fast growing. So if you are getting this phase, and then you are proving that the phase against the marinum is really saving the life in the rodents infected with the Mycobacterium marinum, and then the same process can be extrapolated with the Mycobacterium tuberculosis later on. So maybe the other thing is that if you are having the spectrum of the bacteriophages isolated against these fast-growing, rapid growers Mycobacterium, so some of the phages, because of the similarity or the sharing of the antigenic receptors on the cell surface, might be effective against the Mycobacterium tuberculosis. So you have to check it if they are giving the sensitivity. Those phages which are against the rapid growers may be effective on the Mycobacterium tuberculosis also. So that is the future plan, and I think the investors should go this one, and they should look into this in this way.
And the application of this for India will be very, very high, because tuberculosis, the incidence of tuberculosis
is very high. Yeah. We are number one.
Yeah. So there's a question from Meera, who's asking that do regulators feel positively about phage therapy in the long run for dealing with antibiotic resistance, or do they lean more towards pharmaceutical drugs which are patented for this problem? Is that something that they consider?
Actually, regulators are not coming out in this regard. We have to convince them that this is the option and you have to adopt it because you have got no alternative. So the bacteriophage researcher family has to impress upon the regulators at national level that there is no risk. We have done the toxic testing, other things, and the effectiveness of also this one, efficiency of the bacteriophage therapy. So basically with our work and our publications, we have to impress upon them, the Indian regulators, that you have to accept and please do this for the cause of the humanity. So that is the question actually. So there is less data from India, more data is needed. One day they will be convinced.
And is that something, sir, that you can foresee maybe in the next 5 years?
Maybe. So means if you are really positive, having positive attitude, I think it should be.
One good thing which I noticed at the first phage, Indian National Phage Conference that I attended in Vellore was that there were some representation from regulators as well. They were there and they were absorbing that message that was being given through all the various presentations about phage research.
That is a very good thing. And every time you have to invite them actually, wherever we are having the conferences.
Yes, absolutely. There's a question from Raghav Mehta. He is studying bacteriophages as part of his microbiology. So he's asking about internship programs at your lab.
At one time, we can adjust at least 4 students. Actually, you know, the science academies are sending every year 3 to 4 students. And then we are also adjusting at least 6 more students in my lab for training. They are mostly working on the bacteriophages. So I can adjust at least 3 to 4 more students. Before the corona pandemic, we were doing that regularly during the summers, but now they are out away from the lab and they are staying at home. But whenever there is the corona is gone, then we will again start. So they are welcome.
So there's your answer, Raghav. Sir Atif Khan, who had sent a question about the marine bacteriophages, he's in response to the answer that you had given, he said that I was there in BHU from 2010 to 15, studying BSc and MSc. He's currently at the Bhabha Atomic Research Center, BARC, in Mumbai. And he's working on marine bacteriophages. And he's saying that I hope there will be possibilities for collaboration in the future.
Sure. Actually, you know, Atif, I was awarded or rewarded, means deliberately to work on the bacteriophages, the project which was sponsored by DBT, the aquaculture system, the section of the DBT, and I'm still working on them. And you know, the bacteriophages in the sea, means marine system, there are many fish, because India is also having very good at the, I think, number 2 or number 3 in the export of the fish products and fish. So we are working in a great way, and there are bacterial infection of the fish there in the freshwater system and the seawater also. So that's why I'm working on the freshwater pathogens against the the fish infections. And we are working on the Glaciomonas, Aeromonas, and the few more bacteria, Adversella. And we have shown successfully that they are effective. So the bacteria which are infecting the marine fish, there you can work like there are many crustaceans which are being used for the human use. So there you have to work, and the people working there, I think I had been in Cochin delivering a lecture there. So there is a good lab for this, and they are working, the bacteriophage therapy work is going on there.
That's a really good insight, sir. There is a question from Sudarshan Govindrajan, who's saying that, is there a need to establish a phage bank in India? Or is there any...
Yeah, that is actually already there. You know, the Hisar people, this equine research system of they have got this bank. And otherwise also you are having you can deposit these your isolates in this Chandigarh IMTech. But this Hisar people are basically doing fantastically well, and they are ready to give you. They are not charging anything. Your strain will be preserved, and they'll be reverting wherever you want. Again, to have the phases from that lab, they will be giving out without any charges.
And they've been giving out those phages a lot for agricultural application. Right?
Yeah, yeah. Yes.
There's a question from Apurva who's asking that is there any research work happening in Indian universities with regards to CRISPR-Cas9 in conjunction with phage research?
CRISPR, actually, we have to start. People are thinking about, especially we have talked to the basic scientists who are working on the CRISPR system and also the display, phase display system. So they have to come forward and they have to work there, and CRISPR system really needs to be worked on. So this is very good thing, and I hope that the young people should start working on the CRISPR, because I think last 5 years ago, we were just trying to remember what is the full form of the CRISPR cache. So we are trying to go into it.
There's a question from Vinod Sapra about the SBRT. And he's saying that what are the steps that SBRT is doing to promote phage therapy amongst the general population?
Actually, awareness program is going on, and all the members, including Dr. Pranav, he's also doing the same thing. And the people, they're in the Vellore conference also. A lot of awareness program is going on so that people should know that what phages are there. So we are trying at best our level, and then people are coming to know about this. So in the media, in the TV also, I have given so many times the interviews, and my statements have been published there, even at Delhi at national level and the local level also. So a lot of people are coming after reading those success story to me, and I'm giving the phages, if available, free of cost to them for their treatment.
In fact, you had mentioned about the TV interviews. Many people saw your interview with the Prime Minister in April. And even though that was about COVID-19, you did mention your bacteriophage research there.
That was because this is my passion. So deliberately, I asked that I wanted to make Prime Minister know that we are working on the bacteriophages of the river Ganges, and bacteriophages are the alternative to the bacteria. So I think I was very much keen to tell the Prime Minister that the things are going on, and we are working on the river water as
well. There's a question from Sumantro Chatterjee. I mean, not a question, he's commenting that it's really promising that so much research is happening at BHU in your lab in the area of phage therapy.
Thank you very much for appreciation.
There is a question from Rani Malhotra. This is regarding COVID-19. So she's saying that you are heading COVID-19 testing in Eastern UP. By when do you think the country will be past this pandemic?
Nobody knows. Even I don't know about this, but I think by September, you see, what I feel, the younger population is not succumbing. They are not having the complication of the bacteriophages. I know this COVID-19 infection. I know that the people are there who are hale and hearty without even any symptom. They are not having even a single sneeze, what to talk about the fever. So if the younger population, 50% of the population is getting infected, they are developing the antibody. So the transmission of this is called as herd immunity. Transmission may be blocked one day, because this happens with any virus which is coming out like this, especially the respiratory one. So I feel that only the older people should stay away, and gradually let us being exposed to this infection, and anybody who are having the comorbidity should be in isolation as such, complete isolation, because the risk is with them only. Once if the majority of the population is getting immunized, then we are having the vaccine, then only one can say that we are going to control it. But the herd immunity also will take a lot of time to develop.
And that is essentially the only way to move forward, develop herd immunity at a community level.
It is the nature who will decide what is going to happen. Even vaccine, we don't know what is this spike gene variations and mutations, and if the vaccines are coming in, then how they are going to act. Are they really preventing all the variations of the SARS COV2 virus or they are covering or not, we don't know, because in case of H1N1 influenza also, the vaccine available is not protecting against all the variants.
There's a question from Sudhir Shukla. It's actually a very interesting question about the immune response. So he says, in therapeutic use of phages, our body may have an immune response towards the phages. How can this problem be tackled?
Yeah, that actually I completed one MD thesis recently. She is going to appear in the final examination in this month only. And in that case, what we did, we kept on injecting the bacteriophage cocktail in a high number for 6 weeks, and then we looked for the neutralizing antibody. And we found that the neutralizing antibodies are appearing at the end of the 3rd week. Okay, so in case of the acute infection, the question of the neutralizing antibodies doesn't exist. So it's not a problem. By that time, the patient will be cured. In chronic infection, this problem may come like in tuberculosis or many other chronic infections are there where you have to give, and in any of the acute infection like the acute septicemia or the pyogenic infection, any place this will work. Like if this is the osteomyelitis, there you have to give the therapy for longer duration. So there this question comes that the immune response will be there. So in that case, I suggest that there may be a battery of bacteriophage collection with you, and they should not be antigenetically related to each other. So if they are antigenetically different and effective against that bacteria, so after 21 days, you are switching over to the another collection of the bacteriophages. So we are just going to counter the effect of the appearance of neutralizing antibody. So we need to have a huge collection of the bacteriophages which are antigenetically different from each other. So this is the answer to this. So nature has got the answer. They have given this facility to us.
So it has to be a process of testing, continuous testing and tweaking the phages as per the sensitivities that are coming up to make sure.
It is very simple. It is very simple. If you are giving the bacteriophage injection or application to some of the patients, then you are collecting the serum of that patient, and you simply add this serum to the being used viruses, bacteriophages. If their activity is going away, then you have to switch over. So then, and the viruses which are not getting inactivated, then those viruses you have to use. So this is very simple. Any lab can do this.
There's a question from Sunita Singh, who's asking that do we face similar challenges in using bacteriophages for agriculture, aquaculture, water treatment, and veterinary treatments as we do when we use phages for human treatments?
Yes, problem is there because it is basically the number of the concentration of the phases and the volume which you are going to treat, especially in sewer water and other things. So the nature has given the protective mechanism to those bacteria also. So I feel that we can reduce the number in certain system, but we cannot eradicate completely. So this is the continuous dynamic process where bacteria will exist, bacteriophages will exist, and we have simply to exploit this system in our favor, whatever system is there.
The next question is from Sudarshan Govindrajan. He's not a question. He's saying that my lab works on the combination of CRISPR-Cas and phages.
Yeah. So it will be nice to work with them. I think we should collaborate.
There is a question from Vijay Singh who's saying that can you tell us more about the clinical trial of phages at BHU? He's saying that there was some ICMR sponsored trial which was supposed to start.
Yes, I was planning to submit this project in the ICMR, but because of this lockdown system, that project was ready with me to be submitted. But since we are getting the fund from the university itself under IOE, Institution of Excellence, university has got 1,000 crore. So out of that, some money is being put for the research. So I've applied there. If I'm getting, I shall be able to start by July itself. So we are going to have the clinical trial.
That's really good news. So that'll be a big development.
Yeah, sure.
SP Ranju is asking that how do you store phages without losing their titers?
So there are two questions. The storage of the viruses as such for 10 years, 20 years like that, and without losing titer is another question. So if you want simply to preserve the viruses, in my lab, what I simply do is that I preserved the viruses in 2006 as well, or 7. Then we revived in 2016, and we simply did along with the bacterial growth. We just streaked along with the plaques and the bacteria and put in the peptone stack, simple soft agar, and you keep at room temperature. Because some of the viruses will be inside the bacteria, some will be incorporated. Bacteria is going in the non-multiplying stage. So dormant stage, the viruses will remain there. If you are taking again, the viruses will be revived. This is another one. So you can have the storage of the bacteriophages, different isolates for decades together at room temperature, just putting in your at room temperature. But if you don't want to get any reduction in this titer, in that case, it's better to keep for a month at 4 degrees centigrade, and if longer, then you have to go preserve at -20 or -80.
And what about the titers, sir?
Titers are maintained for 1 month. We have seen that at 4 degrees, it is quite good. But
Okay.
if you don't want to lose any titer, then you have to go for and also we are doing the lyophilization. So in lyophilization, 1 log goes down during the process of lyophilization, which we have seen. But then after that, it remains as such.
Okay. Sir, the last question that I'll take today, that's from Raghav, who's asking that do phages have an application in diagnostics as well?
Yes, definitely. Like in Mycobacterium tuberculosis, it is said that if you add the specific phages, but again, the question is that the strain which is present in the patient's sample has got the bacteriophage is really working on it. And if it is multiplying or replicating there, then only you can get that the mycobacterium is present there. This is the only way by which we say that the mycobacterium is present there. But the question is that the phages which are using the strain which is mycobacterial strain which is there present in the specimen may not be having this phase which we are using may not be lighted to that bacteria. So in that case, we may miss that. So this can be used in diagnostics.
So that's all the questions we'll take today. You've been with us for almost an hour, so I really thank you for taking out this time for this really insightful discussion into the area of phage research and phage therapy. The number of questions that we got is reflective of the fact that people were really engaged in it and finding a lot of useful insights from what you were saying, sir.
Thank you, Pranav, very much, and thank you all the viewers present here. And I'm happy to answer the questions later on also. You can give my email to them, and then I can respond. And if they want any association, collaboration, rather if they want to help with their expertise to me, like CRISPR-Cas, I'm more than happy.
That's great information to put out. So you can get in touch with us. You can get in touch with Dr. Gopal Nath. His information is all given on the BHU website. Thank you so much, sir. I know you're very busy, so we'll let you get back to your COVID-19 testing work. I know that's taking up a major part of every day for you.
Yes. So upstairs it is going on. There is no Sunday. We are working 24/7.
Well, thank you so much, sir. And
Okay,
it was a pleasure having you here.
Yeah.
And your insights and your experience have been very, very valuable for us.
Thank you very much, Pranav, once again.
And thank you for all the audience for watching this, for sending in your questions, your comments. We will be back again with another episode of All About Phage Therapy. So do stay tuned and keep an eye out for the information for that. Thank you.